Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.
G'day, I'm Fletch and welcome to the show. Today I'm about to bring you 3 classic vehicles, but one is completely different to the other 2, and this week's Classic Restos. Three classic vehicles, one an original 1977 HX Sandman. The second car, a delightful 1961 EK Holden. And the third classic car, a DeLorean, which may seem fascinating to you because there's many of us that don't know a lot about these things. Before I go any further, here's a little bit about the man behind the car, John DeLorean.
A man similar to the likes of Preston Tucker, an innovative individual that wanted to pursue his dream. John DeLorean, born 6th of January 1925 in Detroit, Michigan, age 80 when he passed. John was an American engineer, inventor, and executive in the United States automobile industry. He was widely known as founder of the DeLorean Motor Company. John also had some great runs on the board as well at General Motors. John spent 1 year at Chrysler in 1952. He moved on to Packard in 1953, but the unfortunate failure of the prestigious car maker led him to accept a job offer at GM, where he became quite the celebrity and made excellent salaries as he moved around the different department divisions. John was credited for creating the first muscle car, the Pontiac GTO, and at age 40, he became the youngest divisional head in General Motors. John's sizable runs on the board reflected his management across the development of a number of vehicles throughout his career, but the spotlight emphasis here is the DMC DeLorean sports car, put on the map from the 1985 film Back to the Future. John DeLorean left General Motors to start the DeLorean Motor Company, DMC, in 1973. Production delays meant that DMC's first car did not reach the consumer market until 1981. Most DeLoreans were sold in 1982, then folded towards the end of 1983, after a depressed buying market was compounded by lukewarm reviews from critics and the public. After a year, the DeLorean had failed to recover its $175 million investment costs. Unsold cars accumulated, and the company was in financial trouble. And why is the DeLorean so rare, do you think? Well, only about 9,000 were built. And not many were built because it was $25,000. And in the early 1980s, that was a lot of money for a sports car to take over 10 seconds to hit 60 miles an hour. The DeLorean was originally designed to run the high-revving Wankel engine mid-mount. Plans changed to then run the Ford V6 engine, but at the time it was a tad unreliable. DeLorean then chose a V6 from Citroën, but that wasn't powerful enough. Time to meet Richard, semi-retired and enjoying his humble abode on his 1 1/4 acre property north of Goulburn in New South Wales. It's obvious that Richard is a car guy and his little collection has some legacy to a point, but then one car comes through totally left field. With me now, Richard. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Fletch. Yourself?
Great, mate. Great. 3 cars in the collection. Pick on this one first, a DeLorean. Now, I think first time on Classic Restos in terms of an extensive or going into it to find out more about one of these cars. It's the first time we've been up close and personal with a DeLorean. All the attributes to become a great car had it continued, because 80, 81, 82, finished in 83. A very short-lived car, wasn't it?
Absolutely, but very ahead of its time too. Trouble was he wanted to build it in America, but all the American manufacturers said, no, we're not interested, so he had to go searching. Margaret Thatcher said, we'll attract some investors, build a factory for you and build it in Northern Ireland. And of course, that's when he jumped at the chance. And that's also partly where a few of the car's problems arose from as well, as far as build quality and things like that went as well.
It had all the merits, though, to become a fantastic car. We've got independent rear suspension. It's a shape that kind of grows on you. It's got a nice side profile. That hood out the front, that's a big square area there, 1980, 81. That was a very square area for cars. A lot of stainless steel there. You could dip the centre, put a 50mm S&P trap under it, put a plug in, you'd have a sink. A lot of stainless there, but a low-slung car as well. The interior is nice as well. It screams sports car all day long. And I think it could have gone a lot further.
Quite possibly. Bear in mind this one has been lowered before we bought it, but all that did was to improve its handling. They were a little bit back-end heavy, and they did sit up quite high as well.
Interesting too how they were going to start with the Wankel engine, mid-mount in the first designs, and going to a Ford V6 and going to a Citroen V6, and it's like as though going along, losing their way a little bit, but trying to stay on track.
I think what it was when they started to float the idea of production in Ireland, which was essentially the Eurozone, that's when Peugeot and a lot of British manufacturers became involved. The car ended up being a real hybrid with a Peugeot B27 engine, which uses K-Jetronic fuel injection, which was common across a lot of cars across Europe at the time. I suspect the gearbox is adapted out of an early Renault. There's definitely back brakes off a Jaguar on it, front brakes off a Ford Cortina. The steering column looks very Leyland. The pedal set looks like Rover. There is a fact that Lotus designed the interior, and there was an Italian body styler involved somewhere as well with the final shape.
The interior, Richard, we look inside, low slung, bucket seats, nice. You can see that he had all the ideas in the right places. When you look at the ergonomics, apart from, okay, first of all, to get into the thing, we've got the gull wing doors, which are a beautiful feature. But when you look at the console in relation to seating position, it looks good. We look out the back, got the twin exhaust. It's just, it's good in so many ways. And of course, put on the map by Doc Brown, the Back to the Future movie, in 1985. And across the three movies, I think Back to the Future 1 and 2, they went as far back as 1955 and as far forward as 2015.
Yeah, that's correct.
When
21st of October 2015.
When they got to 2015, you don't blame them for wanting to go back to 1985, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, don't go anywhere. Stay in your favourite chair, because after the break, we'll be back to feature Richard and his delightful 1961 EK Holden.
My passion for cars began when Nana and Pop bought their new Toyota Crown. It was Nana's, really. She loved that car. We went everywhere in it. My passion now is just the same, even though my cars are a little different. I've still got Nana's car, couldn't part with it. And I reckon if she was here today, she'd be insured with Shannons too.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. Welcome back. Time for Richard's 1961 EK Holden. What a beautiful car.
Yes, this one's my absolute favourite. From a time when safety meant don't hit anything or don't go too fast. And that's all you did. You just enjoyed cruising around in them just because they were that sort of thing.
We've come from a DeLorean to a 61 EK Holden, and complete still with its 185 tyres on there. And the paint, it might have had a few touch-ups, but is it the original overall?
It is the original colour. It's what they called Alamo beige. Some people will call it salmon pink and other things like that. But like a lot of the cars at the time, the pigments were actually left over from World War II camouflage paints. And so this is why we've got all these, you might say, pucey coloured pigments everywhere in cars of that era right the world over. But yeah, it's the original colour. Everything's all original on this car. It's almost like the day it rolled out of the showroom.
It's an interesting car too, 61 EK. We've still got a 50s style car in the early 60s. The launch of the Falcon being low to the ground, trim, taut and terrific was its sales, its slogan or its motto. It's amazing how the 50s shaped Holdens did so well and held so much of strong market. We're talking, what, 50% of the car market was Holden.
Yeah, that's right. We, I think from memory, about 138,000 of them were produced in the end, and that's across all the different variations as well. General Motors being who they are, there's parts off Pontiacs and Chevs and all sorts of things on these cars.
When you close the doors too, they just feel good, and I've got to give credit to Holden, especially for these early bodies, because they were a pretty good body, and when you shut the door, you can feel that. I think, as I've said before on Classic Restos, I think a lot of the budget from General Motors Holden back in the day went to the grille and the chrome and the bright work on the car, the stainless. I think the grills look sensational. But even when you look through the driver's door and just have a look at that dash, how nice is that?
Yeah, it was all more like an exercise in art.
Now, it's got to be a low mileage car, Richard, because we look in the interior. Original seats, that is incredible.
Yeah, like I said, she's been well looked after all her life. A lot of things around this car are about as original as you can get.
And what's an old Holden? It's not complete without the crocheted rug up on the back parcel shelf.
Absolutely. Some people go as far as to put a couple of cushions on the back seat too.
Looking around that interior, and original door cards as well. The leather straps held by a press stud up against the turret there on the inside. A nice touch in the back as well. I like just the all-round style, and even on the hood we've got the ornament there in die cast, even the block letters Holden across the front of the bonnet in die cast as well. It was really a quality era, wasn't it?
Well, for styling and everything, yeah. They didn't take into consideration how heavy something might be or whatever. If it was solid, she was good, and that's all that mattered, because we had pretty tough road conditions back in the day too.
And also too, it was the first year of the 3-speed Hydromatic as well, which was a fully imported transmission from the United States at that time, designed for the V8s. So bolted behind these grey engines, well, wasn't going to hurt the transmission. It was a good little driveline, wasn't it?
Well, the Hydromatics were pretty bulletproof.
Of course, the Hydromatics, the automatic transmissions, took a bit of power to drive them too. And, the 138 wasn't the most powerful engine stock in the time, but it did the job.
Well, you didn't have to get out and push it up the hill, put it that way.
They had an amazing run out of the grey engine right through to EJ.
Well, absolutely, but it's also a favoured engine for open-wheeler race cars back in the day too. They'd put extra bearings in them and redesign cylinder heads. They did a rotary valve head on them, and apparently they'd deliver plenty of torque and power for race cars too.
Old Milton, rest his soul, from the Summernats. People in their drags would have known Milton from the Summernat days. There was one thing Milton told me, and I'll never forget it, and he said that there was just something about a Holden grey engine with triple carbs, wide open, going down the quarter mile. It was just music.
Absolutely, like anything with a good loud exhaust, it's all about the noise. So, yeah, they sound great when they've been appropriately tickled, as they say. So,
Richard, in purchasing the vehicle, how long have you had it and where did you get it from?
We found this for sale locally in Mossvale. Local car salesman owned it for many years as his hobby horse sort of thing. He got into doing old farm machinery and tractors and was about to do the big lap and wanted fuel money for his holiday, so put it up for sale. We spotted it. I knew what it was all about and how good it was just by taking it for a drive. after a couple of repairs here and there, yeah, she's a great car to drive. I love it. Drives really well for a car of its age.
Also, Richard, you have your daughter Kayla here today. She loves the Holden as well. She's doing a fantastic job, and off camera she was holding my microphone for me.
Yes, she's always willing to help any way she can, but she loves riding around in this car. To be honest, I think she likes all of them. What do I like about this? Well, it's probably just the fact that compared to modern cars that are got all the safety features, airbags, passenger cell, sort of design, crumple zones, they stop well, they go well, they drive themselves almost. You just become a steering wheel attendant these days. With these older cars, there's a skill to driving them. You had to work around notchy gears and inadequate brakes and steering that was probably, you didn't turn them around corners, you dragged them around corners. Some say a lot of the old cars of the day were missing a tilt light on the dashboard. The handling was so bad, but the idea was you just take your time. What was your hurry? That's what it's all about. These days cars are personal transport capsules. And yeah, they've got all the gadgetry and everything, but they've just got no personality, if you get what I mean. So, yeah, give me a 3 on the tree that crunches into second or back to first and brakes that might pull this way and that. That's the fun of it.
Okay, it's that part of the episode, Richard, where we know that you're a Holden legend, and because of that, and thanks to our good friends at General Motors Australia, I'd like you to accept this Holden Legends pack.
Thank you.
And that's what you get for having a beautiful EK and an original Sandman that we are yet to feature.
Well, that'll be back up and running soon, and we'll be able to go for a drive and enjoy that lovely thong-slapping V8 sound that it has.
Richard, thank you very much. And of course, these are available. The Holden Legends packs are available online as well. So, Richard, thank you very much for featuring this lovely EK. Stay where you are. We'll be back because next up is Richard's Sandman.
I've been a motoring enthusiast all my life. My Coupe 4 is rare and very special. A real performance car with all-wheel drive grip. I'm not a car club bloke and I don't work on it myself, but I do have a great mechanic. One day, I might even get that HQ. When it comes to insurance, it's got to be Shannons.
Shannons shares your passion. Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride. And if you own a classic or a few, why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. Keep in mind too that the Shannons Club awaits you as Australia's largest automotive online hub. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. Welcome back. What a score this is. Richard, how long have you had the Sandman?
We've had this for about 8 or 9 years, I think now. Just as a like to get it out and just enjoy driving it for what it is.
77?
77 HX. Yeah. This one was the full optioned pack. Its history was, I believe it was a motor show special, or in other words, they fully optioned it as a display car, and then the original owner walked in and he said, I want that car. And they said, well, you have to wait for one to be built. He said, no, I don't want to wait. I want that car. So he ordered it with the full-length hood liner that comes down the side, the upholstered side tray. Yeah, it was a special van at the time, and still survives. We've got all the books, all the numbers match.
How cool is it? It's a totally original Sandman from 1977. Never had paint, we're looking at the real deal here. The original decals down the side, the original wheels. This is just a time capsule.
Absolutely. And in fact, they say about 30% of Australians born in the 70s were probably conceived in one. So,
And obviously 253 as well.
no, this one's a 308.
All right, that's just up the ante a little bit more, hasn't it? Yeah. That is sensational. Well, I'll tell you what, because I'm such the good bloke I am, everyone likes to make some money. How'd you like to make $1,000 real quick? I'll give you $1,000 right now, more than what you paid for it.
No deal.
What a stupid thing to say. But hey, look, in the old days, these are the cars that, well, they went through the $400 and $500 and $1,000 period, didn't they? Absolutely.
You couldn't even give them away at one stage, especially when the cost of fuel went through the roof.
The H series Holdens around the top of the plenums, bit of a demon in there for the rust. I can see that you've got the trims off around the screen. A few basic rust repairs that you're doing at the moment, Richard?
More like preventative rust. There's no deep rust in this one. It was a very good example to find. But
so this must never have had a life near the beach?
No, it was an inland car all its life. And we've also got all the providence for it and everything, including the broadcast sheet from the factory. It's got all the bells and whistles and all the numbers and everything that made it a truly unique find, if you will. So it's in here getting treatment for preventative measures for rust. There's one or two spots around the front scuttle where, as we like to say, the factory rust would get to them. But when we pulled up all the trims and everything, we were very pleased to find there wasn't even surface rust. It was clean, just needed a bit of love. So.
Interesting, speaking to some people lately too, the old term of the patina is sometimes not appreciated amongst people. They see something like this and they want it back to bare metal. They want to do a restoration as to how it left General Motors Holden back in the time. Other people would be content to leave it as is. It's a real, not so much a debate, but it's a real tin of worms when you get a few people in a circle as to who likes to do a full resto and who likes to preserve as is.
Well, yeah, I've got equal amounts of people saying leave it alone and leave it original, as well as a lot of people saying restore it. But I think what the key is with a lot of these cars is not to over-restore them. Yeah.
Richard, we're out of time for today. Thank you so much for showing us your three cars today. The DeLorean was very interesting, and I think that was the first time a DeLorean has been featured to that extent on Classic Restos. Of course, the EK, well, what do we say about that? Beautiful car. And this is a real find here. I can see why you keep it tucked up the back of the shed here, and want to see this on the road one day.
Oh, she'll be back. We just got to get these rust repairs done. So, yep, it'll be back and it'll be driven until I decide it is time to begin the major restoration.
Well, thank you for your time here today, Richard. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Fletch, and enjoy. And hopefully my voice is better next time.
Well, we are out of time, featuring three classic vehicles belonging to Richard. Of course, his unique DeLorean, this original 1961 EK Holden, and that gem of a panel van, a 1977 HX Sandman. I hope you enjoyed them. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch. Thanks for watching.
You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au.
Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.